Nice. Smooth. Hawkeye. Ball manipulation looks similar to the Mosin. Hit. Hit.
High on it.
Got it.
It's always been a part of the way I do business here in the Nutnfancy project, TNP for short, now in its third year. I am of course talking about my willingness and
Nice.
frequent practice of coloring outside the lines. That is, departing conventional wisdom in the pursuit of my gear review goals and sometimes life philosophy videos as well. For instance, leave it to me, I guess, to run a hunting rifle in a tactical fashion. Yep, namely in my sledgehammer drill. This is of course the excellent Ruger M77 Hawkeye rifle. Namely, it's the Sports South exclusive in a Mossy Oak Camo limited edition. I think it was model 7166. It is going to serve as the poster child for the Nutnfancy tabletop review on the entire M77 Hawkeye series. And yes, this rifle stands as a veteran of the sledgehammer drill. Now, guys and gals who've been following TNP for a while know what the sledgehammer consists of. It is a very challenging shooting course that I set up out in the middle of nowhere, and I run all kinds of guns against it and see how they perform. If you're a hunter and you're looking at that intro and maybe what I'm saying now and go, oh, that's ridiculous, you might want to hold on. You might want to watch the whole video, because I'm going to reveal some things that were revealed to me in the sledgehammer about this gun that I previously did not know about shooting it from the bench. That's why I invented the sledgehammer drill. It consists of running and timing the shooter, elevating stress levels, and yes, it works. Mid-level stress for the shooter, engaging targets left and right, 35 yards to it, about 115 in the case of the Ruger M77, booking it down to the final stage, 200 yards shooting. Yeah, it's challenging, and the Ruger M77 actually did pretty good, but again, via the talking point, like I always do, there's some things that I need to share with you, honestly, that I don't think are out there about the M77. I want to be honest like I always am. I'm not going to hold back, and yes, in doing so, I'm going to color outside the lines. Let's get to it. POU. That's a Nutnfancy term. Been talking about it for years now. Philosophy of use for this gun is primarily what everybody thinks of it as, of course, number one, a hunting rifle. Okay, this is a gun you would pack up in the mountains with you, especially this one. 22-inch barrel, naked, 7 pounds, jumping ahead to size and weight. Actually, with the scope shown, this Leopold, I think it's a Rifleman, 4x12. It's not super light, 8 pounds 4 ounces. A tough, rugged, synthetic stocked hunting rifle that can take most big game. This is .308 caliber. One of my favorites just because it's easy to reload for. It has a caliber commonality with a lot of other guns that are in the project for that. I'm not going to say the .308 caliber is the best big game cartridge out there, because it is not. There are a bunch more that are more effective, flatter shooting. You guys, you hunters, know exactly what I'm talking about. But as a good overall gun, you bet. And there's another reason I chose that caliber I want to talk about here in a second. Hunting gun, you know it. I don't know if you guys know this. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. I've talked about it or mentioned it in other videos. I actually grew up as a big hunter. deer hunting, elk hunting, bear hunting, usually in backpack fashion. That is where we haul all the stuff in. If we got an animal, we would haul it out. In the states, Virginia, Utah, Alabama, Florida, and Montana, I grew up hunting, and my gun at that time in most of those hunts was a Remington Model 700 BDL and 30-06, given to me by my dad when I was a kid. And oftentimes I'd be on the stand, wherever he placed me in the morning, waiting for the elk to come across that meadow, and I'd be caressing my 700 BDL, looking at that very shiny and beautiful walnut stock, kind of wishing in a way to have a rifle just like this, because it was really tough to keep that beautiful gun in nice condition as we hiked around mile after mile. In fact, for a while I was carrying it in a gun case. And in my mind, even way back then, I was saying, man, I kind of wish I had a stock like this, something that was tougher, that wouldn't absorb water, that I didn't have to worry about. And these stocks have been around, of course, for a number of years now, and this M77 Hawkeye wears one. I really like the camouflage pattern on it. I think the gun would be an excellent hunting rifle. Yes, even in .308 caliber, very effective. You know, maybe there's some really large game. You'd want some more, I don't know, not firepower, but a higher power cartridge against that larger animal, maybe moose or something like that. Dangerous game, I'm with it. But I think in the philosophy of use as a hunting rifle, absolutely, and I think that's what 99.9% of all people who buy an M77 Hawkeye, at least this style, the more compact version, are going to use it as. There's other versions of the Hawkeye, of course, that I don't have on the table, which serve in perhaps another POU, and that is target shooting or varmint hunting. Okay, and there's heavy barreled versions of the gun coming in all types of calibers, serving very well in the role. We'll talk about accuracy in a little bit. I think there's a lot of love for the M77 Hawkeye for that POU as well. I'm talking about target shooting and varmint hunting, critter hunting. Okay, there's another reason, and this is a fresh POU I've never heard apply to the M77 series, at least not this gun. I'm not talking about the Gun Society Scout, and that is as a light tactical rifle, a concept which I've been thinking about for some time. You know, I'm not, you may see this later in the review, I'm not a super fan of porting a gun like this. Here comes a Remington Model 700 SPS, heavy barreled. I think naked this thing weighs like 9 pounds. Not a fan of carrying this rifle for long distances over the mountains. Do you need a heavy barrel to shoot accurately? Okay, I'm still answering that question for myself. What I've determined so far is no, you do not. How many rounds are you going to fire? Well, getting back to the sledgehammer drill, that's another reason I ran the gun the way I did. In multiple runs with my buddies, Bug and Nestor PFI dude, running the M77, I want to see if the sporter contoured barrel is going to vertical string. Is it going to warp on me? And not really heavy shooting, but I mean, what were we running, 20, 30 rounds per run? I forget. More like, I don't know, 25 or something. The answer is, if it did, I didn't notice it in the drill. Now, in my paper accuracy testing, I did notice it a little bit of vertical stringing, and that is to be expected with this profile of barrel. But getting back to the philosophy of use, a light tactical rifle, to me it means the following. It is a rifle that is very lightweight, as light as we can possibly get away with, that we can take up to 20 very accurate shots and bug out. That's what I want my light tactical rifle to do. Okay? And does the Ruger M77 Hawkeye, at least this 22-inch barrel version, and all the other ones like it, and they have a compact version one, which is 16.5-inch barrel. Does it fill that role? I think it does. There are some nagging concerns I have that I'm going to talk about in ergonomics, but I think it can fill that role actually fairly adequately with, again, some ergonomic concerns. How about fun rifle? Maybe. It just depends on what caliber you get in. If you get one in 223, which is more affordable to shoot, I say absolutely. If you're a hand loader and you can shoot whatever cartridge of choice you have pretty much affordably, I say yeah, it's a really fun rifle. Shooting it from the bench, i.e. just punch and paper, is really a lot of fun. Absolutely. Oh, I forgot to tell you this. The 308 caliber, that kind of gets back to my drive to determine whether it can fill the tactical role or not. Because a lot of tactical rifles, the word tactical, are chambered in that caliber, right? So I want to know, how does this little rifle do? The little compact M77 Hawkeye. Okay, so fun gun absolutely depends on, your chambering. Moving on, innovation and design. I think, if my history is correct, that the Hawkeye series came out around 2006, superseding the Mark II M77s, right? Which were introduced in 1991. Not a lot of changes in the Hawkeye series against the Mark II. I understand there were some changes in the contouring of the stocks. Cool. Which, by the way, jumping ahead to ergonomics, I really like the stock on this one. There's a flat bottom right there on this synthetic stock, so if you want to sandbag it, I guess. Sling swivels, of course. The checkering is good. Not excellent, but good. Ruger logos pretty much all over the stock. They're in the pistol grip, on the cap, just to remind you do have a Ruger in your hand. But the Hawkeye also introduced, this is, again, jumping ahead to ergonomics, the LC6 trigger. I didn't have a lot of experience, like hardly any at all, on the Mark I, Mark II M77s. That's another reason why I've had this gun in the inventory for over a year in testing. I know, sometimes these reviews just take a long time to do. My understanding is the LC6 trigger on the Hawkeye is vastly superior to the Mark II trigger, and even more so against the Mark I, the original M77. This one breaks at about 4.5 pounds on my trigger pull scale. Very crisp. I like it a lot. My favorites remain probably the Savage AccuTrigger. Love that. They're all getting really good though because of the Savage AccuTrigger, if you want to make that argument. The 700s, I'm talking Remington 700, the Marlins, they're all very good triggers. I think the M77 Hawkeye is right in line with it. By the way, I was curious, well, was that a fluke? Are all of the M77s pulling at 4.5 pounds? So I grabbed a Ruger Gunsight Scout. Brother to the Hawkeye. It's basically a Hawkeye with a magazine and a 16.5-inch barrel. Yeah, in testing. 4.5 pounds it broke as well. Very crisp, clean trigger. Great job. That's the Ruger Hawkeye innovation. If we go way back to the Mark I, when Ruger first came out with it, was like in the mid-60s, they just looked to the most, well, not the most, but a very proven action, and that is of the Mauser. And that's what the action is modeled after. It's basically a controlled round feeding action with a blade ejector. Just like the Mauser, right? Great job. A lot of people they'll say, hey, that's awesome. I don't shoot any bolt gun that does not have controlled round feeding. I differ in that a little bit. I think controlled round feeding, for me, Nutnfancy, is a little bit oversold. For years, what has the U.S. military used? Army, Marines, a Remington action, push feed. You can make a case either way. I don't want to get into big controversy here. But I'm not going to say that I do not like guns that don't have controlled round feeding. And there is another nagging concern that I think kind of goes in line with that I'm going to talk about here. You can see that Mauser. Let me take the bolt out here so you can kind of take a look-see at it. The way we do that, jumping ahead to field strip, this bolt stop, we just lift up. Some guns you pull down the trigger, not so with the M77. Release the bolt like so, and voila, very Mauserish, right? So it grabs a hold of that cartridge from start to finish. By the way, since it is held so tightly, make sure that you pull that bolt smartly to the rear to eject around. Otherwise, you could have some jamming issues. Also revealed in the sledgehammer drill, we found out. 1 in 10 rifling for the 308 caliber at least. No threading. I think you're going to see threading become a very common thing on all bolt action guns. Perhaps even hunting style of rifles, because then we have an option to put a flash suppressor on there, maybe a compensator of some sort. I think it'll become more popular over time. This one doesn't have it. Could you thread it? Absolutely. There's the gas relief hole on the side of the action. Okay, that's in case you have a primer or cartridge rupture. It's got to have a place to escape. It's right there. And then interestingly, I have a picture I'm going to roll in as I talk about this. The recoil lug, that's what I call it, on the M77 series is actually angled back. And it drives right here and it really cranks that action down into the stock. Okay, most recoil lugs and bolt action guns, according to my understanding now, are vertical, kind of like, I think the Model 700s are like that way, or are like that. Pretty decent. There's your action screws right here that really hold it to the stock. Make sure those are very snug. They don't loosen up on you as you shoot your rifle. Pretty simple. That's it. Innovation in design. Oh, one more thing. Investment cast receiver. Okay, if anybody knows how to do investment casting, it's Ruger. Extremely strong, extremely proven. The stuff does not wear out. I'm talking about the receiver. Just like we talked about with Mark Gurney there from Ruger in SHOT Show 2011 booth review. We're actually talking about the Gunsight Scout then, but same type of technology. We're talking a very high quality barrel. It is button rifled, cold hammer forged investment cast receiver. It's basically a gun that will last as long as you will. That's innovation in design. Oh, I forgot to say, dual opposing locking lugs on the Mauser action. That's a strong action. And anybody who's shot the Mauser action, whether it's in this gun or any other gun, maybe a K98 itself, can attest to that. They got it right. I probably forgot some stuff. I may come back. Weight, balance, and feel. I already talked about it. Not the super lightest rifle. I would really like to see, I don't know, a 6.5 pound naked gun. I use the word naked. In other words, just bare bones gun. And then when I put optics on it, if I could get it around 7 pounds, I'd be really stoked. The more it can go below that, the happier I'm going to be. In the POUs, I designated it. And let me be more specific in the hunting POU. I'm not talking about truck hunting, ATV hunting. To me, this is a backpack hunting rifle. This is one that you're going to be hauling around, you know, from hill to hill, valley to valley. That's what I want. And the lighter it is, the happier I am. Don't ruin it by putting a big old scope on it. And you guys may look at that and go, well, that's kind of a big scope. Well, that's kind of true. Keep in mind, though, I'm not made of money. I can't just put on the scopes of my dreams on all these guns as I test them. I have to kind of strike some balances, pirate it from another gun, and what this one ended up with is this one, the Leopold. This is a bottom tier Leopold. It's a good scope. I think it weighs around, I'm going to ballpark it at 18 ounces, something like that, maybe 17 ounces. I don't buy heavy scopes, so it's in the ballpark. And I don't think it ruins the gun. You could probably get more portability and do better in SAWC with a smaller scope. I do like the 12 power though, absolutely love it. The size is phenomenal. 22-inch barrel, that to me is almost ideal for a 308. Yes, I know a 308 is not super critical in velocity, about 30 feet per second as we lop off an inch of barrel for the 308 caliber. And again, it depends on the caliber. I'm just talking 308 here. I like a 22-inch barrel though. It's nice. In some POUs, I like a longer barrel. If I'm really trying to range out a 308 out to 800 yards and beyond, I would like a 24, even a 26-inch barrel, doing everything in my power to give that cartridge the best capability and range out there. And I know the precision shooters who will watch this go, well, if you want to do that, don't shoot a 308. I know, but again, there's a lot of bounces you make as a shooter. I mean, you don't just say, yeah, I want to shoot, a 300 Winchester mag all the time. Well, if you're reloading, doable. If you're not reloading, you can forget about it. It's just too expensive. I want to shoot a 338 Lapua every day. Hey, that's expensive. The components for that just to reload are expensive. So, there's some trade-offs. There's some compromises we make. And also, I think it's kind of fun to see what the 308 can do, max performing it out to range. To me, it's interesting. Is it the most ballistically efficient cartridge? Absolutely not. There's a detour there. Okay, that's weight and size. Very portable. By the way, I didn't say this, 42 inches overall, this particular model. You get that 16.5-inch barreled M77 Hawkeye, shorter still. Kind of like the Gunsight Scout. This is a short rifle. Tiny, tiny. In my opinion, from what I know now, that 16-inch, 16.5-inch barrel, a little bit short for me. It is. A little bit more blast. I know. It's kind of adhering to the Jeff Cooper, scout rifle concept. I get it. Ergonomics. All right, here we go. Plot thickening. In the sledgehammer drill, I'm going to start off with a bad. The bolt is not super smooth on the M77s. In fact, it can be downright obnoxious. Here I go coloring outside the lines again. I looked around trying to find anybody complaining about the M77 bolt manipulation, and I didn't hear anything about it. You know, again, when we run a gun a little bit under stress, maybe that's when these ergonomic issues are revealed. Maybe it's part of the Mauser action. I think because of the Mauser does have the full length extractor here, perhaps riding on the inside of the face of the receiver, there is more, I don't know, friction. Bottom line is, when you torque the M77 action, and what I'm saying is you're applying upward momentum as you pull it rearward, you are going to get binding. Is it better in blued steel versions? I do not know. In this version, though, it was an issue. Multiple times the shooters, including myself, noticed it. That if you torque the M77 bolt, you can see it here. It binds. The only way you're going to circumvent that is by unloading the bolt. In other words, make your upward movement, don't torque it, come backwards, don't torque it, back down. So you're making an up movement, a back movement, and you get good at that. If you do that, you're not going to have any problems with the action. It's a training issue. However, by way of contrast, you know, I always like the honesty in the reviews, right? The Remington 700 action is not that way. Okay, it's hard for me to wrangle all these guns. Awkward angle, bear with me. Safety check gun, of course. Here's M70 or the Model 700. Much smoother, right? Now, this is a black coated bolt. It's even smoother still if you get one of their polished bolts. I'm talking the Remingtons. You know, you could probably say the same for a Browning A bolt, the CZs, you know, maybe the Savages, Marlins, other bolt guns. It's not the smoothest bolt in the world. It's just not. In fact, it was very distracting to me because I was applying my old bolt gun habits to the M77 and they weren't working. I was getting binding. I was frustrated. I was like, what is wrong with this rifle? Well, you got to run the right. Every rifle, of course, has kind of its own battery of arms, and the battery of arms is unload that bolt. That is an ergonomic issue. It is a hit for me personally against the entire M77 series. Will it make a difference of how you are going to run your M77? I don't know. Who are you and how are you going to run it? You know, in a hunting philosophy of use, will it make a difference? Probably not. You know, if you're good, you fire one shot, and that's it. One shot, one kill. You're done. You probably want to reload. In a target shooting environment, same thing. It's probably not an issue. You're going to be slow fire, not under stress. In the tactical role, definitely an issue. Definitely. And I had other shooters try it as well, and they said the same thing. They were like, wow, that really is a rough bolt. And we had just shot the Mosin Nagant previous to the M77. That's what we came up with. All right, there you go. Enough on that. And the safety. Once upon a time, the M77 series used to have a tang-mounted safety. In other words, right here, right where the Model 700 is. That is my preferred location. I generally don't like bolt-mounted safeties. Okay, this is a 3-position safety, of course, on the M77, just like, you know, most Mausers, I guess. All the way back, of course, is safe, lock the bolt. Mid position is still safe. You can actuate the bolt. Full forward is fire. Another ergonomic issue is it kind of has some sharp corners on it. Not kind of, it absolutely does. And it's another training issue. To me, it's not super ergonomic. Again, I'm at a weird angle here. To reach up and actuate that safety on M77. I just, not digging it. Another ergonomic issue. I mean, that's just the way I see it. Can I deal with it? Absolutely. See that? There's a protruding cocking indicator when you see that. The rifle is cocked. A lot of the other things on the M77 are actually pretty styling. Okay, there's the bolt knob right there. Doesn't extend down too far, which is normal for this style of gun, i.e. hunting, right? Clears the scope bell nicely. And we already talked about the other part. There's your floor plate. It has a recessed catch in it. I think that was redesigned in the Mark II, I think. Nice logo on that. Look at that. In fact, the bead blasting on the stainless steel for these Hawkeyes that do feature it is excellent. I love the dull gray appearance, especially against this stock. This is just a really good looking rifle, in my opinion. Really good looking rifle. Okay, so the way you release the floor plate, like so. I'm always learning too, and in the sledgehammer drill, I was trying to see, you guys may laugh, but I was trying to see, can I load the gun faster using the floor plate? You know, the answer is no. I learned by trying, I learned by doing. It just did not work that great. For one, you're fumbling rounds around, and two, you've got to load them in a certain sequence. So, you know, this one's stacked higher than the other one. I forgot exactly how it goes. You can look at the follower, it'll tell you. And then closing it. We pretty much got to the point where we're just loading them from the top. And again, we're simulating we need to load the rifle as quickly as possible. I really wish, by the way, it had a 5+1 round capacity. Talking about firepower, it has a 4+1 in this cartridge, in the 308. Okay? There's some other rifles around that have a 5+1. The main reason I want that, not so much for, I don't know, firepower, but for the way I run my drills. We're usually doing it in 5-round strings, and so it was kind of awkward running the M77 Hawkeye that way. Okay, excellent recoil pad, talking about ergonomics, and this is a very good thing. Oh, such a great recoil pad. I loved it. Soaked up recoil. The length of pull was very nice. Again, I loved the stock. Had no problems with that. There's your swivel studs. I talked about that. They all come with that, of course. That's pretty standard. That's the ergonomics, and I talked about the trigger already. It's pretty much excellent. Okay, moving on. Firepower. Mentioned that already. 4+1, maybe less, depending on your cartridge of choice in your M77. Materials and quality. Dude, it's already said. You know, it's a Ruger. Rugers are made well. You know, investment cast. It's a gun that will last and last. Did I just rhyme there? I don't even know. Reliability and durability kind of go hand in hand with that. I think you're going to be hard pressed to wear your M77 out for most people, depending on how much you shoot. The caveat to that might be perhaps a really high velocity cartridge where you would get some throat erosion in your barrel. Okay, in which case you're going to wear your barrel out probably down the road sometime. I don't know when. By the way, I really like the profile of the M77 Hawkeye, this version, the 22-inch barrel one. It's sporter profile, but look how thick it is coming out of the receiver. The good side is that's a lot of stability. The bad side is that's probably where some of that weight's coming from. Also, this is not free-floated. It actually has pressure exerted on it from the stock right about here. I think in some other places as well. Not a free-floated barrel. Reliability and durability, I talked about the bolt thing. Other than that, we had no jams with it. It was just the roughness of the bolt. As far as feeding issues go and actually being able to just shuck everything you throw in it, it did excellent, including steel-cased Wolf ammo. What? Nutnfancy, why in the world would you run that? Well, because it's cheap. I'm on a budget here, sorry. And it ran it very well. Wait till you see the targets. You're going to crack up. This was with my friend Yabachi. Remember Yabachi? He moved away in 2010. How you doing, Yabachi? Thanks for helping me test this gun. This was him shooting M762 White Box Federal. And by the way, that is excellent ammunition. If you see it on the store shelf, buy it. It shoots out of pretty much every gun I've ever sent it out of very well. 2.5-inch group, but off the bench with this one. That maybe not the most impressive one. It was in May of 2010, incidentally. There's better, well, maybe not better. 2.75-inch group. That's Yabachi's group. I said, let me see that gun. Okay, there we go. This is actually Hunting Shack ammunition. And I think that is 168 Sierra Match Kings thrown out of there. And there's a 1.1-inch group. Oh, opened up on this one, same ammo. 3.75 inches? That's horrible. I show it to you as it happens. There's a nice group. HSM ammo, 4 rounds. Like that. 100 yards. Testing continues. Look at this group. XM762 FMJ. That's at White Box Federal. 0.75 inches. 3/4 MOA out of the gun on the table. Nice. Here comes the Wolf. Look out. Steel cased ammo. I think it's an interesting thing to throw in this ammo in some guns and just see how it runs. It's affordable. To me, it's a kind of a survival ammo. It's a what-if concept. What if that is the only ammunition I have? How will my gun shoot it? Here you go. 2 inches. 2.2 inches right there, boys. To me, that's excellent from that kind of ammunition.
Coming off that barrel.
There's a 2-inch group, and that's pretty much what the Wolf shot out of that gun. 2 inches. HSM group, dude. Hunting Shack, 1.2 inches. One more to show you. Ooh, I was really proud of this one. Now, there's some shotgunning going on here, but this is during the sight-in, when we first put that scope in. How's that? 1/2-inch group. What? From Wolf? Yep, no lie. But that's more representative. 2.4 inches on that one. HSM, 1.2 inches. Okay, and then finally, XM762, there's a 1.65 inch group. I didn't try to bother to center it on there necessarily. I just wanted a grouping because it's money to shoot this stuff. Overall, I would call this gun on the table a 1.5 MOA gun easily. With good ammo, easily under 1 MOA. And I will declare the entire series from that and my research on the type as an outstandingly accurate gun.
That's how you have to actually
On par with pretty much anything you'll throw against it within reason. I'm talking all the M77 Hawkeyes. They are extremely accurate and compete very well in that category. I really have nothing bad to say about them at all. On to field strip. Simple Simon, man, I already showed it to you. Pull the bolt out. If you want to get more detailed than that, jump into the Ruger manual. I had one around here somewhere. Probably fell off the table. They have a really good discussion. Here it is. About how to take the bolt down. Okay, if you want to do that, I really don't think you would have to do that very often. I lubricate the bolt up with my favorite grease. I think it's running right now, Shooter's Choice, and some guys say, well, it's binding because you didn't lubricate it. No, dudes. It is thoroughly lubricated inside and out, and I found, at least on this stainless M77, it did not help that much. I kind of am put to wonder, will it get any better if you polish it up? You know, gunsmith it. Don't know. If you could just slick it up, I really like the rifle so much better. I can actually live with the safety. By the way, that Gunsight Scout, bolt same way. Same way. Still binds. If I torque it. Again, if you untorque it, you're going to have no issues. And guys who shoot the M77 a lot may be surprised and say, well, I've never had a torquing issue on my bolt. Well, maybe you haven't shot it when you're really not thinking about, you know, the target, that you're thinking about a lot of other things, the stress your body, and you do things like torque the bolt up during those situations. Again, one of the whole reasons I run it in the Sledgehammer, all these bolt guns actually. All right, field strip, I don't really have much more to say about that. It's just simple bolt gun. Accessories, not much to say about that either. You can throw a bipod up there on the front swivel stud if you want. It comes with rings, as all Rugers do, and don't be fooled by Ruger saying they're free. They include it in the cost, trust me. Okay, if you don't have 1-inch scope, you have 30 mil, just throw them back to Ruger. They'll do a straight across swap out for you if they're new in package. Ruger has outstanding customer service. They always have. The rings are there. I still wait for the day when Ruger's going to make some aluminum 7000 series forged aluminum rings. Not necessarily for this gun. I'm really wanting them for the Mini 14. The reason they don't do that, according to Mike Pfeiffer at least, is because they're afraid that those aluminum rings are going to find their way on top of a 375 H&H Magnum, and they're going to have some issues, some warranty issues. So I understand the philosophy, but I still would like to see them. They don't come with iron sights. That's pretty standard for a so-called hunting rifle. Value. I wouldn't say this gun is the highest value bolt action gun out there by a long shot, no pun intended. Around $600 for this limited edition camo version, which I think is ultra cool. I just love the stock, just love it. The looks of the gray, here I go again. $600, give or take a little bit. That's kind of up there in my opinion. Probably in line with the Remington 700, definitely higher than the higher value bolt guns we see coming out of Marlin, like the X7, Savage Axis, Mossberg Trek. Do they have the same second type of cool, the proven track record that the M77 has? Probably not. There's a lot of other great bolt guns to choose from. I'm talking sporting style of bolt guns, and many of which will probably beat the value formula that the Ruger represents. Okay, and there's lots of different versions. I wish I had more on the table, but instead I'll just roll in a few pictures. This, of course, is analogous to the M77 all-weather. Model 7123 is a normal version. I think that's a stainless steel black synthetic stock. Then you have the M77 Hawkeye standard version, which I think is a gorgeous rifle. It has a walnut stock with a red butt pad, I believe, satin blue. It's just a great looking rifle. 7 pounds, 22-inch barrel. That's model number 37124. Then you have the M77 Sporter, 22-inch barrel, 7.5 pounds. Great looking rifle, model 17191. Love that gun. Some guys will say, hey, Nutnfancy, you like the M77 Hawkeye Tactical. That's a 20-inch barrel, 8.75 pounds, model 37108. And the answer is probably not. Just by itself, it's 8.75 pounds for a 20-inch barreled rifle, and it costs around $1,000. No, I don't like it. It's way expensive, and it's heavy. I want something much lighter with the same capabilities. Manufacturers, are you listening? Then there's some limited edition distributor exclusives. For instance, while I'm filming this, Jerry Sports Center has what's called the Revolution Tundra in black laminate. I don't know if I can find a picture of that. It's model 17171. Great looking gun. Great looking gun. Those are just a couple of the other versions out there of the M77 Hawkeye series. Pick your poison, man. All kinds of calibers offered. There's African versions, safari versions. This is one of my favorites. If I was to choose, well, I did, out of the Hawkeye series, you're looking at it. A common caliber in this size, 22-inch barrel synthetic stock. A beater rifle, one that I can thump on and know that it's going to be tough and rugged, not absorb water, not rust out on me. And this is a style of rifle that they use up in Alaska. Stainless, baby. Synthetic stock, where it's always raining, always drizzling. Usually. There's a lot of woodstock guns up there too. This is my favorite. I sure like the looks of the standard though, the walnut one. Gorgeous. We're talking second kind of cool there. Overall, I got to wrap it up. The Ruger Hawkeye is an outstanding rifle. It has a couple drawbacks, which in my estimation are somewhat serious. The bolt roughness concerns me. It makes the gun slower to fire, and it requires a special battery of arms, not torquing that bolt. I don't generally like the safety mounted where it's at. On a modern sporting rifle, if I'm shooting a K98, I'm much more forgiving because it's an older design, right? It's a 19th century, early 20th century design. I can live with it. And I can live with this one if that bolt were just smoother. I wish it had an extra round of capacity, you know. Go for the Gunsight Scout. Nothing fancy, I know. Other than that, I think the gun is very squared away. It's extremely accurate. It has a great trigger. I think the carry weight is very reasonable at 7 pounds with nothing on it. I like the looks. It's handsome. It has an outstanding stock. And it comes with an extremely proven track record over the years. It is one of the all-time favorite bolt-action guns I truly believe in the world. I'm talking the Ruger M77 and all its variations, Mark I, Mark II, and now the Hawkeye. And that's with good reason. It's taken down a lot of game all over the world, and people just love it. But those are my takes on this rifle, and that concludes the Nutnfancy tabletop review. Thanks, guys. Got another bolt gun done. Awesome.